The United States has been and still remains, as of the time this video is being recorded, the world's largest economic power. Depending on the age of your grandparents, they may have witnessed the rise of the United States as the world's largest economic power. However, will this position be maintained forever? Will no one be able to break the United States' leadership? The current situation is becoming strange and unsustainable for the United States and other wealthy countries, as a recession is looming. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is catching up, including countries such as China, Brazil, Russia, and India, which are competing for this leadership through BRICS. You have been seeing news about the BRICS, haven't you? Every time we turn on the news, we are taken aback. Large companies are going bankrupt, banks are in crisis, interest rates are rising, inflation is skyrocketing, and the dollar is falling abroad. When the idea was to keep interest rates high for the shortest possible time to avoid harming economic growth, there were people who wanted to keep rates high for longer, and even advocated for increasing rates to curb absurd inflation. Increasing the interest rate holds back inflation a bit, but the economy is a very delicate business. They kept the rates for a while longer, and this served to reassure the banking sector, allowing them to breathe a little more. However, the inflation in the United States will only ease next year, in 2024. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate will remain high. In the same week, the IMF published the World Economy Outlook report, confirming that the economic situation is difficult in rich countries. The report projected that the growth of advanced economies will have in 2023 and remain the same in 2024. This means that the growth rate will be half of what it was in 2022. In summary, things are getting complicated, the party of easy money is over. With the strong slowdown, it is expected that advanced economies will have higher unemployment, with an average increase of 0.5 percentage points from 2022 to 2024. But for many emerging countries, the news is good. The IMF predicts that economies like Brazil's will have an average growth rate of 3.4% in 2023, which will rise to 4.2% in 2024. The growth of emerging countries is being largely driven by India and China, with growth estimates of 5.9% and 5.2%, respectively. The IMF's managing director stated that India should account for half of global growth in 2023. However, for Brazil, the IMF was not optimistic. The projection for the Brazilian economy is only 0.9% growth, while the United States will grow 3%. A study published by Goldman Sachs evaluated the current scenario we are in and concluded that the four largest economies in the world in 2050 would be Brazil, Russia, India, and China, hence the name BRIC. This is basically a closed club to help each other economically. Currently, the GDP of the BRICS has already surpassed that of the United States and the European Union. The countries that make up this bloc, which forms the BRICS, have a combined population of almost 3.7 billion people. They represent 46% of the global total. Because of this, the BRICS is preparing to adopt a common currency for transactions among its members, something like the euro works with the countries of Europe. The goal is to avoid the economies of these BRICS countries becoming so vulnerable and dependent on the dollar. We know that the United States uses economic sanctions as a political weapon to pressure other countries. It is not a nuclear bomb or a laser satellite, but measures that economically isolate a country. This has happened to several countries, such as Iran, Syria, Cuba, and Venezuela. They freeze the assets of a country in other parts of the world, suffocating its economy. However, this does not always work completely, as many countries depend on these nations to buy inputs or have other forms of digital transactions. Russia, for example, was targeted by U.S. sanctions after the invasion of Crimea. Many companies and the government had assets frozen in other countries, but China stood financially on Russia's side, transacting with them through its own digital infrastructure. China is interested in expanding the BRICS to include more countries and replacing the dollar as the global currency. So, without a doubt, this new alliance that is becoming stronger has a strong chance of shaking the US financially and dethroning it as the world's largest economy. Unfortunately, we still do not know what consequences this can bring for us and what maneuvers the government and companies should take to deal with this situation. Thank you for watching so far. Leave a comment telling us what you think about all of this, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue bringing more informative videos like this one. See you next time.